Okay, another exciting episode here in the land of PCS. Today we're going to cover a number of different things. One of the things we're going to cover today is how to do something different than what you normally do with squeeze pages and basically eliminate the need for them potentially permanently. I mean, they definitely have their use and many people do use them, but I'm going to show you a little different way of how you can accomplish essentially the same thing with a lot less work and using a total different approach, basically. Another thing we're going to talk about today is email on demand. If you remember the old fax on demand environments where you would have a number of products and you can just call by phone, punch in specific product number, and magically a fax appears if you call from a fax on your end based on whatever. So a lot of companies use it for their, like appliance companies, for their manuals and product sheets, things like that. So, there's plenty of small businesses that have a number of products. This particular approach I'm going to show you does not scale really well, and I'll explain later why. So if you got a company that has thousands of products, it's not going to work very well for you. But if you have a company that has 5 products, 10 products, 25, 50 products, even as many as 50, then it's definitely something you might want to consider to do and create a really nice both setup for your products information dissemination, so now you can easily get the information out to people who are looking for it. But more importantly, it's an automated process whereby people with a simple email can get the information they need without you having to lift a finger or do anything, and they can do it 24/7. So it's a very powerful way to disseminate information. It doesn't have to be product sheet or information like that. It could be any kind of information you wish to convey, and even information about your products and services and things like that. But instead of them just consuming it from your website, they can actually get it in their email box. And there's a reason why I'd recommend you do it this way versus the traditional way. But before we get going here, the first thing I want to talk about is the show specifically for Zara Altair, who requested it, is how you can use multiple logins to multiple Google accounts from your Chrome browser. And to show you right now, let me just jump into my screen here. I'll just do a screen share. That's the easiest way to do it. I know you prefer looking at me, but let's do it this way. You can look at my screen. And so right now you're looking at my Gmail screen, and as Zara always requests, I'm going to make it bigger right here, so it's much easier to see. Oops, a little too easy. Yeah, let's just do it like this for now. So as you can see, it's my Gmail screen, and it's got a bunch of stuff everybody else usually has. You have your contacts, you have your emails there, you have the vertical split display, and so you can see the messages on the left and you can see the content on the right, things like that. So what I wanted to show is that at the top of the screen there, as you can see, at the very, very top of the screen, you have a, I'm hoping it shows it to you, but it's basically, it's above the very top of the right side of the screen. Just because my Hangout doesn't show me that part, I'm assuming you're seeing it. But you can see right there, there is a little box that it says Oleg's profile. And so in your case, it will have your name and it'll say the word profile. So the profile is the way Chrome keeps track of all the users for a particular setup, in this case, this Chrome setup. And that's usually when you set up Chrome the very first time, you log in with your account and it initially establishes this initial profile. And then through settings, you can go in and add users, or you can do it directly from here. So if you go to this little, click on this little link here, it shows that it says Oleg's profile. It shows my main email address below that. And then it says switch to a person or go incognito. So for those that don't know, incognito is a mode in Chrome where you can have it completely, basically go surf completely anonymously. You won't know who you are. Nobody will be able to tell who you are, where you're coming from, what you're doing. It's specifically meant to be Some people call it porn mode because, for people who don't want anybody to know that they're looking through porn, that's the easiest way to get to it. But it's actually officially called incognito mode, specifically because of anonymity of using it to surf the web. But in my case, I'm just using regular accounts, and so I'm going to click on the switch thing. And when I click on switch person, it comes up with this window that has all these different accounts that I've set up. So all of these different Gmail accounts, some for me, some for some of my clients, and they have all these different email addresses. And the way when you bring this display up, one of the things that you can do is at the bottom here, you can see it says add a person. So if I click on add a person, it'll go through the usual gyrations of asking me to log in using whatever account I want to log in. And it's taking its sweet time for some reason, but eventually it will come up. Yeah, there you go. And it says set up Chrome, but basically you're signing in and so on and so forth. I don't want to be doing that, but that's when you would log in initially. But in my case, what I want to show is if I go to the switch person, I can actually switch to any of these other accounts. So right here, I'm going to click on this other one right here, which is also me, different email address, different account. And I'll go to Gmail here real quick. And it'll ask me to log in, so I'm going to log in. And then as you can see, I have two-step verification set up on that account. So I'm going to pull up my phone, get the code. You see here. There's my code, 507401. So do that and verify and tell it that it looks good. Just move on, basically. And then, there we go. I'm now in Gmail, totally different look. So right now, if you look at the bottom of my screen, you will see, if you ignore all the icons, on the left side, I have a little Chrome icon with my face profile on that. And on the right side, I have another Chrome deal, which as you can see is this one that we're looking at now. So I can jump easily by just selecting this link right there. I mean, this particular icon on the left, and I can see this email, and then I click on the right side, I click on this Chrome icon, and I can see a totally different Gmail setup there. So as you can see, I'm using two completely different and separate accounts right now. And if I wanted to open more, by the way, I just click at the top and go to switch account, and I can pull up, let's say, my son's school account, for example, my Emerson Google for Apps account. Right there, and it's got my drive and everything else. As you can see, it's a totally different account. If I go to Google Plus, let's go to Plus. Actually, let's go to Gmail. Let's go to Gmail, so we're looking at the same stuff, so you can see that easily. And so if I go to Gmail, then you can see that it has yet a different look to it. It's got different background, different emails, different setups. So it's completely different in terms of the way it shows, what it shows, because it's a different account, different setup. But I can easily jump on the bottom here, juggle between these different accounts, jump to this one, jump to that one, jump between these different accounts and do whatever I want to do at the same time, as much as I want to do it. So they're like completely separate, different sessions. Now, with that being the case, I want to caution you that even though that is the case, and I can go to Drive for this account the usual way, pull down the hamburger deal, not the hamburger, but the launcher deal, and I can go Drive account for this particular setup, which is the school account, and you will see its Drive populated accordingly here. And then if I jump back to my Gmail that we were showing you before, then if I go here to do the same thing to Google Drive, then you will see a completely different set of files and folders, because it's now using this other Google account. Okay, so it looks completely different. So this is one, and this is the other one, and on the third one, I'm still looking at my Gmail there. So that's basically it. I mean, that's all you have to do is go up here to the right, top right, click on this little deal, click on switch person, and then select any of the accounts you want. Then you can open as many at the same time, use as many at the same time as you wish. Like I said, one caveat you have to be mindful of is this only works like this on a desktop. It does not work like this on mobile devices. Okay, so it's a major difference. On mobile devices, the way Google has it set up is you can flip between different accounts. Like if you're sitting in Gmail, if you pull up the little menu in the top left corner, or top right corner, I should say, then you can, no, it is on the left side. I'm sorry, on the top left corner. Then you're able to easily switch between any of your email accounts that you added to the phone, for example, or the tablet. So you're actually essentially switching accounts. Yes, you can be easily switching from account to account to account, but you're not having them open and being able to work on them at the same time. So if you're switching from account to account, easily done. Same thing with Keep, same thing with any other Google services, Drive. It's the same thing, the way it works, but you're switching between accounts one at a time, provided you set them all up on the phone, of course, first. But on the desktop version here, you can actually not only switch between them, but you can actually be doing things in all of them at the same time. So you can start something in one, send an email, jump immediately into the other one, so you don't have to be. So it's kind of, you are switching in a way. I guess I shouldn't say you're not switching. You are switching. You just don't need to be constantly switching back and forth like you do on the phone. Here, you just, once you open them, then all these tabs are there. You just click on the tab you want, and it's right there and there. So it's kind of a somewhat similar, but at the same time, somewhat different. Okay, and then if you want to know over here, of course, it gives you these names, which don't really mean much. So just as a little clue, at the top right corner, if you hover over the right corner of every one of these, if you pull it down, it then shows you the email address that this particular icon is associated with. So if I click on here, you will see that it says this is the hangoutschool@gmail.com. If I click on here, it's my main one. If I click on this one, it shows it's oleg@pcs-works.com, which is my other account. So in other words, that's how you can tell which account this belongs to, in case you get, like I do, a bunch of different accounts for a bunch of different purposes. Okay. So again, to add somebody new here, you click on Add Person at the bottom left. You can also do this browse as a guest thing, which is mostly used for Chromebooks. I never have this at home, but you can have somebody browse as a guest, I guess. And then you just go right to that account, open it up, and to close it, you just simply close the window. And if I'm done with this particular thing here, I can have, of course, as many tabs as I want open on this particular account here. I can always close that, and basically that's that. So with that being the case, the next topic I wanted to discuss was the ever-present and wonderful concept yesterday of, I think it was yesterday, maybe it was the day before, where people started screaming and yelling that Google took away their precious plus sign. So that's what I wanted to do. So over here, we used to have, at the top of Gmail here, we used to have a plus and then your name. And then you used to be able to click on it to go right to Google Plus. And, Google removed that. Also, there was a little box that was a way to get into Google Plus share mode directly from any of the other Google apps, including Gmail here. And they took it away, and everybody, many prominent people on Google Plus, just literally, it's like almost you had to put them on suicide watch because, oh my God, the feeling is Google is dismantling Google Plus, and they took away my plus, and on and on and on. It's like little children. Unbelievable. So what I was saying was, again, a bunch of people complained and moaned about the disappearance of the plus sign next to their name up here on the right side, which was across all the Google products where you can go to Google Plus easily and things like that. So I wanted to show you that the first thing is there's definitely a way to get it back. I'll show you exactly how to do it. And it's really easy. It's really cool. So here's a magic trick. I say something, and then I go ahead and I pull up this account here, and look at that. Up at the top of the screen, see this? Right there, it's got plus Oleg. It's a link. As you can see, it shows a little underline when I do this. And beautiful, no? Exactly how we want it. I click on that. It opens up a new tab, and there's my Google Plus. Hopefully. And It says welcome. See, everything exactly how it's supposed to be. So, and over here, of course, on Google Plus, I also have plus my name, and I have the share box right there, so I can do that. So exactly what many people wanted to have, and we're so sorry and crying and moaning about this missing. As you can see, it's still here. Everything is working exactly how it should be, right? All right, jokes aside, I'm not going to taunt you anymore. The reality of it is this, that they did remove it. It's gone. There is definitely a way, a better way to get this set up anyway, and that's what I'm going to show you in a minute. And the reason you see this working is because it's a Google Apps for Domains account or Google for Work type account. In other words, it's the account where it's not a regular Gmail account, it's account for domains. And that's why, because my company is set up as one of these accounts, that's why it shows they have not implemented, rolled out this feature yet on everything. That's why it shows up here. No magic. So I'm going to close that up because we don't need it anymore and go back to regular Gmail, because as you can see, it's not there. So how do we get around it? And what do we do to make it work? And the answer is actually pretty simple. What you need to do is you need to use bookmarks. Okay? And bookmarks, as you can see, if you look at the top of my screen here, you can see at the top over here, I have a nice little button, almost in the same place, that says plus Oleg, right, on my toolbar. And so all I have to do is simply click on that button, and guess what? It opens up a new tab right there, and that new tab has my Google Plus, just like the old Plus Oleg did on the old setup. Okay, again, it's available everywhere. You can see it's right there on this screen. If I'm on Gmail, it's there, it's here. It's a bookmarks deal. So essentially what we did was we set up something that actually looks at this. It's even snazzier because it's got a little Google Plus logo next to it. The old thing didn't have that. It was just plain old Plus Oleg. Now it's got Google Plus logo to go with it. But jokes aside, it's essentially all it is just a regular bookmark that goes to plus.google.com. Something you can easily set up very quickly, like any other bookmark. You can place it anywhere you want. In my case, I was trying to, basically make more of a mockery of everybody who cried about it. So I placed it on the right side. Obviously, you can place it anywhere you want on the bookmarks bar if you want to have it there. And as you can see, it works just as well. I mean, you don't have to do anything special. It's still going to have plus Oleg, or you can type in, plus whatever name you want. You can say Google Plus, whatever you want to do. Bottom line is it's that simple. And then the benefit of using this approach is that you can then get to Google Plus, not just like you used to be able from Google only ecosystem. I can be sitting easily at any page because this is part of Chrome. It's not part of Google ecosystem. I can go to, I don't know, CNN.com. Doesn't really matter. My Chrome toolbar still is in place. Okay. And by the way, when I'm signing into Chrome, like I was showing you earlier, for any of you who stayed before, then you can see that login enables me to log into any computer anywhere in the world with that same login, and I will get exactly the same users, access to exactly the same users, and access to exactly the same setup for them in that particular Chrome setup, including the bookmarks and everything else. So all I have to do is just sign into my account on anybody else's computer in the world, and I will have not only access to, my users, like I said, but also access to things like bookmarks right there, totally at my fingertips. So right now I'm sitting at the CNN.com page, and yet at the top, as you can see, I still have my plus Oleg. And if I click on it, it'll replace the CNN.com with my Google Plus, just from that page. So the deal about yesterday, that Google took it away, they took away nothing, literally. It's not that big of a deal. It's very easy to get it set up for yourself. Nothing to it, basically. And from there, you can go wherever you go. The only difference is there's different ways how you can do it. The easiest way is just to, like I said, bookmark, set up a regular link. And right there at the screen, you can see it shows https://plus.google.com. So you can put that into the actual command of the bookmark. If you don't know how to change bookmarks, just bookmark any page by hitting Control-D. And then when you hit Control-D, it will set up a bookmark. Then you right-click on it, and then you click on Edit, And if you select edit, it's going to ask you to give it a name and give it the location. So the name will be whatever you want to call it. Like I said, you want to call it plus your name, you can call it plus your name. You can call it Google Plus, you can call it G Plus, call it whatever you want. That doesn't matter. This is the URL part is what's important, and that should be https://plus.google.com, and that's it. And you just click save, and you're done. And so then at any point, if you click on it, it'll go. The only little caveat, not caveat, but the little thing that you need to be mindful of is when you click on it, it'll replace whatever page you're currently on. So if you wanted to start, for example, this particular window, if you wanted to start Google Plus in the current tab, all you have to do is click on this link, it'll work. If you want to start it as a new tab, you can either click on new tab and then click on the link, or the easiest way to do it is to hit the control key while you're clicking on the link, and it'll open up automatically in a new tab. As you can see, it's opening right there in the next tab. Okay? Very, very simple. Works perfect every time. Nothing to it. Okay, so that hopefully alleviates all the angst of everybody who thought they lost this major capability. You know, this is actually even better because, like I said, it's accessible from anywhere. Okay? So that's that. And with that, let's move on to, and as I mentioned before, the domain accounts that you have would still have the old plus name working as of this time, but I'm sure they will change it soon. So don't get too excited that you can access it from somewhere. It'll go away. Just look, this went away. Okay. With that said, let's move into the email on demand capability and talk about that. So one of the things that people do typically with, like, for sales purposes and stuff, they want to get a mailing list built, email list built, so they can start having conversations with whoever they're trying to, potential customers, existing customers, whoever the people are who sign up for it. And so the way usually they do this when they want to disseminate some information, like give away a PDF or, get some information out to people, they usually set up what's, in the industry, they call it a squeeze page, which is a horrible name. Some people call it landing page, but people call it all kinds of names. The bottom line is the squeeze page is the idea is that people enter their name, usually just the first name is enough, and the email address into a little form, and then when they submit it, it takes them to the page where they can get their freebie. And that's kind of how squeeze pages work. In the meantime, people can only get it when they supply the information. It's called an opt-in, meaning people are not just being bombarded with information. They only get information because they're asking for it. So on a psychological level, it's a more positive approach. From a spam perspective, it's a positive approach because, after all, you're not forcing anybody into anything. If they want to put in their name, it's up to them. If they don't want to, they don't have to. So if they actually put their name, then the idea is that hopefully they want what you're giving them, and they're not going to be complaining about you emailing them afterwards and spamming them. So that's why they're asking for both name and email address so they can get back to you. So that's one thing I wanted to get out there. Second thing is, when you're doing these, obviously it takes some effort in terms of HTML, knowledge of HTML, or getting a plugin for WordPress, or getting somebody to do this for you if you don't know how to do it, to get these things set up. Well, Gmail actually has some amazing capabilities. And these capabilities, by the way, for those of you who are thinking of migrating to Inbox, Inbox is a great new program from the same folks that brought us Gmail. But Gmail has a lot more capabilities right now under the hood, which is something that, like this one I'm going to be talking about in a second here, that's the kind of stuff you cannot do at this point in Inbox. So that's one of the reasons right here to continue to use both, because Inbox has its own strong points, but Gmail has its own. So this is kind of a feature that's being used very little, I think, but a lot of people don't even know it exists. And so you have a combination of several things here. What you're trying to do is, again, you're trying to get some information to people, and you're trying to, in exchange, you're doing an exchange here, you're trying to get their email address so you can then start communicating with them more, potentially sending them more information, and essentially building a mailing list of people you talk to. So hopefully that over time, if they become people who trust you and like what you're giving them and like what you're telling them, then they're going to be buying your products. That's the name of the game, basically here. So how else can we do it other than a regular squeeze page? When you have a form and all this programming that you have to do, or somebody does it for you to get it set up. How else can we do it? We can actually do the same thing, at least that's my proposal, from Gmail. You can easily do exactly the same idea in terms of results. And what I'm suggesting is a way to send an email to somewhere. Let's just say, we're not going to say specifically where, and then automatically have the system email people back information that they were supposed to get. And in the process, of course, as you're getting this going, since the email will come, the request for email will come initially from them, then you wind up being able to capture their email address at the same time. So you're kind of killing both of these birds with the same kind of stone. So how do you do that? How do you set it up? So you have to use a couple of features of Gmail, one of which is canned messages, and the other one is filters. Those are the two things that we need to be able to make this work. Okay? And first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a little example of what I'm talking about. And obviously, I'm using it for my own purpose, but feel free to use it for your purposes. You just need to adjust a couple of things, but mostly it's exactly the same setup. Okay, so how do we do this? First thing that we need to do is we need to set up an email, and this email is going to be what they call a canned message. In my case, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to make display a little bit smaller here so you can see more. So my apologies go to 0 for going back to the regular size here. I'm making it a little bit smaller. And then over here, what we're going to do here is go to let me see here. We go to canned messages, and the way you get to canned messages is if you look at the compose window, you can see right here on the bottom right corner there is a canned responses, they call it canned messages, field or option, I should say, menu option, and then it's got all kinds of different things. So in my case, I'm going to insert, just to show you, the one I already set up called spec zone canned response. And you will see when I do that, it's going to have this complete email in place, which has all this information. It happens to be something that I set up for this new initiative that I'm doing right now, a new project called Spec Zone, which allows small businesses to have their own IT departments. And so this particular canned email is set up, as you can see, it's got different colors, it's got different size text, fonts, it's got call to action at the bottom with a link, it's got a little signature at the bottom, it's got links to the website. So it's got a bunch of information dealing with this particular service. And of course, you can have your own, whatever you want it to be. And it's easy to just indicate that you want to send it to somebody and so on. So I have this one canned message in place, and this is what it looks like. Okay. In addition to that, once that's set up, so that's step one, is you set up the canned message or canned response, I should say, for whatever, let's say a single product, okay, or a single service, whatever you're trying to send to people. And you can set up as many of these things as you want. You can set up a bunch of them, okay? So that's step one, is to set that up. Step two is to set up a filter for it. And if I go to my filters and set up a filter, the easiest way to do it is to do it from the search. And you just pull down this little menu on the search bar. And then over here, you have all these different fields you can fill in to indicate what kind of emails you're looking for. So what you'd want to do, the way I'm doing it, I'm going to be showing you using a single email address, so you don't have to do it for a bunch of different email addresses. We're going to be using this email on demand, using an approach where we indicate an email address, and we're going to use a special Google feature which allows you to add a plus sign, speaking of pluses, at the end of your email address before the domain part starts, before the @ sign. And that way you can actually use that as a separate email address, and you can have, for example, your email address plus a product ID, some number indicating product ID at gmail.com. And that would be a valid email address. And what happens with when we use these plus name addresses, or plus whatever the identifier is, what happens is Google still sends it to your regular email account, but you're able to look at them and see. So that's almost like a unique identifier on the email address itself. So I could say something that when I get email sent to my regular email address, which is olegmoskalansky@gmail.com, instead of doing that, I type in that plus um, spec zone, and in this particular case, and at gmail.com. So it becomes looking something like this. So I have it's my regular email address, but I just insert between the uh, on the left of the @ sign and at the end of whatever the normal address is, the plus sign and some kind of either letters or numbers identifier, and that's what I'm going to be using because the emails will be coming to that address. In addition to that, I don't need to indicate anything else. In addition to that, I can say I want to create a filter with this search, and then I need to put in a bunch of information. So in this case, let's put in, let's just put in, it's the spec zone. I already have one, so I'm going to call this one, and I'll just call it test. So we'll set up one called test. So that's the email address, oleg.moskalansky plus test@gmail.com. Okay, and then you click on this create filter, and then the filter part, the second part of the creating the filter is it's asking you what do you want to do when a new message arrives that matches the search criteria. In that case, it's the to this particular address. What do we want it to do? One of the things you might want to do is say skip the inbox, so they're not in your face, because you don't really care about these messages in terms of what they are, because they're simply going to be requests to get information. So you don't really need to read them, because people are just going to be usually clicking on a link or simply sending you an email just saying send me the info. Okay, it's the email address itself that's important here. Okay, so we can skip them and put them in the archive it. We can do any of the things here. One of the things I suggest you do is do the apply label, and so you click apply label and you give it one of the existing labels, or you give it a new label. Either way, however you want to do it. That way, these messages will nicely be labeled and be easily accessible as a group afterwards, because they will have this nice label on it. Optional, don't have to do that. Okay, that's not part of the deal. Okay, then the next thing that happens is that it's the next thing you can do is you can also delete them if you want, if you don't want to keep them, and then you can also it says never send it to spam. You can make sure that that's the case so they don't go to spam. You can mark them as appropriate. Now, do any of these steps here, whatever you feel is appropriate. Typically, the only thing you really want to do is you want to do the send canned response. That's the main thing you want to do. And then canned response would be one of your canned responses. In my case, it will be that. As you can see, I have different ones. Okay, and then you can also check this box at the bottom. It says apply this to 32 matching messages. I'm not going to be doing that, so I'm just going to not do that. But if you wanted to, you can, when you set up the filter initially, you can set it up so it does it automatically to the existing messages. In our context here, you normally would not want to do it, because you wouldn't want to fire all these messages automatically all of a sudden to people when you're just starting this out. So the really main thing you really need to do here, the only thing, is the send canned response when you create the filter. Okay, I'm going to get out of this one. I don't want to create it. But what I'm going to show you is I'm going to go to settings. And in settings, I'm going to go ahead and select filters. And in filters, I'm going to find the one I have here, right here. And I'm going to just click on edit. And you can see the way it's set up. So I set up one called, anything that goes to oleg.moskalansky plus spec zone. That's the key, is this plus part at gmail.com. Then what I want to do is I want to do the following with it. I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to apply the label spec zone on it, to every email that comes in like that. I'm never going to send it to spam, so it doesn't get lost. I'm going to send it a canned response called spec zone, and that's canned response. I'm going to mark it as important. In my case, I wanted to do it, and categorize it personal. But not all of these are optional. You don't have to do that. But let's say that this is what I wanted to do, and then the filter is set. You only need to do this once, by the way. You don't need to do it multiple times. You set it up once and you forget it. You're done. Okay. So you'd want to do this for every single product that you're doing. Okay, every single product. If you hear some music, my kids are getting ready for a recital. That's why. Hopefully, it's not too loud. So anyway, so we've got our filter set up. We've got ready to go. Let's go ahead and test it and see. We got our canned message for a particular product. In my case, it's my spec zone service, and we've got the filter set up for it. Let's see if it works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the example we did before by jumping into a different account here. So I'm going to go switch and go to, for example, doesn't really matter. I'll just go to the Emerson account. Actually, Emerson account forwards. Never mind that. We'll go to let's see. We'll go to Hangout School as good as anything. Okay, so we go to Hangout School, and here we are at Hangout School. For those who are wondering and don't know, Hangout School is something I'm starting for mostly for kids who do homeschooling and who want to take some classes at summertime. It's all going to be online using Hangouts, and I'm just getting some teachers put together with kind of being the middleman between the two. So the teachers will be teaching online classes. That's at hangoutschool.com. So you can go there, check it out if you're interested, or have any need or know somebody who is interested. So here I'm sitting here in the Hangout School account. Okay, I'm going to pull up Gmail. And as we talked before in the first part of the session, remember I have two different setups. So I have my regular Gmail here, my main account, and on the right here I have this one. Okay, and right now, it has a bunch of messages. We don't really care about that. Nothing to do with that. So what I'm going to do as a test, I'm going to see if this whole process works. I'm going to click compose new message. Okay, I'm going to send it to Oleg.Moskalansky at plus speczone.com right there. Okay, and I'm going to say send me spec zone info, whatever. Okay, whatever they want to put in, they can put in. They can even put in a message here if they want. I'm not putting anything in because I don't really need it. I just need to send it. So you can set this up to be as a link on your website too, by the way. And I'll show you a little bit later how easy it is to do the link part. So let's say that you tell people in your promotions, in your marketing, that you want them to send, if they're looking for a product called SpecZone, you'd like them to send it to your email address plus SpecZone or whatever the product name is at gmail.com. You just advertise it as the email address to send that they should use to send the information. And once they send it, then they'll be able to get their info. So I'm going to send this email message from this account. And basically, I'm just going to wait for just a few seconds. It doesn't take that long. It takes a couple of seconds for things to work. And, I don't have to be in the other email account. I don't have to be doing anything. I just want to show you that I'm sitting here. I'm doing nothing. I'm basically just waiting for a minute and letting Google do its thing. Okay? So typically, this is a process that takes just a few seconds. I mean, it takes, maybe 10, 15 seconds. 30 seconds, something like that. It doesn't take that long. So when people send you these emails, these requests, I should say, then it fairly quickly you're going to get the answer back. So if I click on, just check the new emails, notice that now I have a new email here. It's been 15, 20 seconds. And if I click on it, notice what it actually did. It sent me this exact SpecZone email that I showed you before as a canned message. So all of this content is here. Okay. So they send me this email, but a couple of things I want to point out that is very important here. All I had to do to receive this is simply send an email. It just happened to be going to a particular email address, but the whole situation occurred in terms of what I was saying, email on demand. I send an email out, and without doing anything else, I then receive in my email box email back automatically without any human interference here, and it gives me all the information, right? And that particular email also has, in addition to information, like I said, I have a call to action at the bottom, which is I'm saying that if they're interested in continuing and signing up for the service, and if you have a small business, I highly recommend you do as well. You can see it's got this thing ready to sign up, fill out the form. So if I click on this button from that email that I received, it'll take me to a Google form, decent looking Google form there. And you can see it's SpecZone. You had a little animation going there, and people can, you can fill it out and it goes, then it takes it from there. So the idea is, again, they send a simple email, it automatically sends them back using this approach information that they were looking for, and they can do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So the question becomes, why is it like squeeze pages? Why are they better than this? And my answer is they're not. Because if you think about what squeeze pages do, is they accept somebody's name and email, and then that information is sent to some server somewhere when people type it in, and then in response they wind up getting an email back, uh, as an example, this example here, that has the information they requested. What happened in this case using my approach instead of squeeze page? They simply send me an email, which is easier than going out and filling out any pages. You just send an email, you put in the email address, you're done. And then when that email came to my company, it automatically sent them a response back, very similar to how the squeeze page type approach works. And they got the information they were looking for. The only question comes up is, okay, so normally they put in their email address. How do you know who sent it to you? And here, let me show you. As you can see up here at the top right corner, you can see there is my picture and there is information about which account it came from. Okay, and of course this is Google Plus information. On this side here, if you look at the details of the email, you can see that this email came to the hangoutschool.com, the hangoutschool@gmail.com, which is the account we're looking at, but it came from Oleg.Moskalansky plus canned response at gmail.com. So essentially what's happening is you're getting back the email address of this person. You just need to get rid of the plus canned response part, and you have the email address of the person who sent you the request. Okay, so we wound up, without typing email, our own email address, we wind up still getting all the information, and we still have the information about who actually sent us the request, which is extremely handy, extremely useful. Now, what can we do with this information? Well, obviously, you can then populate it, add this, if the person is on Google Plus, you can, from here, easily add them to circles, okay? And so they become part of your circle. And then, of course, you can, in Gmail, look at everybody in particular circle. You can just, have, I could have a circle called spec zone members, and anybody who sends these things, I can automatically go look through the deal and add them to it. They can add me also on their end using this approach. And I can add them to my contacts here. And then once I have them in my contacts, I can email them easily and things like that. So essentially, they become part of this setup here on Gmail, so I can do with them what I need to do. And so again, to recap, the process is you set up a canned message for a product or a service. Then that's step one. I'm going to have all of this on my blog, by the way, in terms of steps, so you don't have to be remembering or rewatching it 10 times. But the basic concept is, or the process I should say, is you set up a canned message for whatever you want. You set it up with a plus whatever you want to put in after the email address before the @ sign to be your identifier, and it needs to be unique for each one of these things. Okay, and then you simply set up a filter indicating when you get the email with that particular email address in the to field, then use the scan message as a response, and that's all you need to do. And then people send you emails and they get their stuff back, and in the meantime, when they send you the request, then you know where it came from. So let's go back and look at the other side of it. And this is the side of people who are sending it, and so they got the request. Let's close this up, and let's go back to my end here, which is the person who's actually running the business part. And look, I see I got a request from, don't pay attention to my name. The email address is thehangoutschool.com @gmail.com. So in other words, I have the email address of the person who sent this request. They didn't indicate it physically, send an email, but I actually have their email address here as part of it. Okay, and that's the coolest thing about that. So I have their information here. Okay, I can add them right here. There is their Google Plus account right there. I can add them to whatever circles I want, right? And I can also, in my case, I didn't archive this message, but like I was showing you, you can easily have them archived. Notice also it has the spec zone label on it, so I can easily click on the spec zone label on the left here, and let me just refresh real quick. Okay, so I can go to my, let's see here more. I got all my different labels here, including spec zone, somewhere here, right there. So if I click on it on the left, then I have all the messages, so it'll be all the people who requested anything from me. So I have that address, that address, that address. So I mean, these were tests I was doing using same account, but there will be all these different email addresses, that and stuff like that. Then in addition to that, here is the kicker here. You can also go to um, the new contacts. Okay, and this is where it gets to be really cool. And so when we go to contacts, come on, contacts are still not incredibly fast. Then you have this little option called circles. You see this? And if I click on a particular circle, then basically what happens is you wind up, as you can imagine, seeing just the people who are in that circle. Let me put something a little smaller so you can see what I'm talking about, because it doesn't matter. It can be big, can be small, doesn't matter. The key thing is that whatever these people are, whoever they are, is if they're part of this circle, I then have an option at the time here to email this whole circle. Okay, and so that's what makes it powerful, that on that email side here, when I receive my email from these people, and of course I'll be notified, all I have to do is add them to one of my circles from here. And so as these requests come in, I can just keep adding people more and more and populating my circle. And then emailing them is as easy as jumping into the contact page, selecting that circle, and then saying email the circle. And it's going to go ahead and email everybody in that circle. Okay? So it's almost like a little mail management thing that you can do yourself. And you can, of course, remove people from circles, add them, however you want to do it. So it makes it really fairly simple that way to set up the entire sales cycle, if you will, going from the beginning to the end. And the way you do this is you simply publish whatever the email address you want them to use. By the way, just so you understand, you do not have to use an email address to make this work. Okay? You can have a filter be based on something in the subject. You can have filter be based on something in the body itself. When you set up this filter itself, you can populate any of these fields. And so you can see it says has words, doesn't have this. So you can definitely use that too. You don't have to use filter based on an email address. In my case, I recommend such because of this concept with having the, in my view, you usually would have a single email address that you could then use for this purpose. You would have different identifiers for all kinds of different products. And that way it makes it a little bit easier to manage. And also very easy to set up. You only need one email address. You don't have to be saying, if it's this email address, then do this filter. If it's this email address, then do this other. And you have all these different email addresses you need to have, juggle them, everything else. This way, you're dealing with a single email address as a formula plus whatever the identifier of the product is. Then you can have a canned message named with that product name, so you can easily match the two. So you know exactly what to, if you have a bunch of products or services you're trying to set this up for, unfortunately you have to do this one at a time. So that's what I meant initially about not being able to scale this process, because if you have 1,000 products, you would have to actually have 1,000 setups, and it'd just be way too time consuming to get it set up and manage it, and it just probably wouldn't be worth the hassle in that case. But if you have something like 10, 20 products or services or fewer, then you can see it's a breeze. You just set up a canned message, set up an email address plus that to be the trigger, and then you simply publish, populate, and distribute information to people saying, look, if you want to get more information about spec zone, by the way, Zara, if you're listening, go ahead and send me an email at my address, oleg.moskalinsky plus speczone@gmail.com. And anybody else who is watching this, by all means, feel free to do the same. That will send you to your email address. It will send you the information you just saw me send to one of my other accounts. You'll get the same information on your end. So it's already set up. It works for anybody. And you can watch it in action yourself, and you can make it work for yourself in a similar fashion. So that's the example of email on demand, meaning that people send you an email, and based on that email, they get something back as a result. And you can make it as fancy as you want. or as simple as you want. It doesn't have to be as lengthy as mine. You can have a little text message. But for a lot of things, things like I was thinking product catalog would be ideal. You simply put in the information, text information in there about whatever aspects, numbers, prices, whatever you want to have in there. And then people just can get these spec sheets easily by simply sending an email. And you can have on your website, you can have links set up, and the links would actually force the issue. So how do you set up a link? The format for the link is pretty simple. The way you set up a link in HTML, you simply, let me just pull up, keep or something, doesn't really matter. Just pull up keep and I'll show you. So the way you set up the email links to have people click on them to go right to email is by having something that looks like this. You put in the word mail to, colon, and then you put in the email address. Plus gmail.com. And that's really all that you need to do in terms of the link. It's just the word mail to, and see this automatically changed it. But anyway, it has to have a prefix of mail to colon, and then it has the email address, and you don't really need any more than that. So in my example here, if I was to click on this, go to link, what will happen, it'll actually open my email client, which would be Gmail, and it'll automatically have the email addresses you can see up here. I didn't have to type any of that stuff. And I don't really need to put any subject or anything. I can just simply say send. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this link here. And I'm simply going to go to this other account again, or a different account. Let's use a different account. We'll jump to, this is fine. So if I go to Gmail here, oh no, I'm not going to go to Gmail. What am I talking about? I want to show you the account. Okay, so I'm going to put a link. I'm not going to go to Gmail. I'm just going to go ahead and put the link, that same link I showed you, which will force it to open Gmail and automatically put the email address in there, right? And so I'm just going to go ahead and say send. It says page, nothing in the body. I say, yeah, it's fine. Send it anyway. And that's it. So you can really do a link that says mail to colon, and then the email address, including the plus and whatever identifier you have. And that's all really you need to have in a link on your web page for people to just simply click on that link. And it's like regular link you do on any web page. And then that will kick them, when people click on it, it'll kick them. I mean, that would be on your website. And then when people click on it, it'll kick them to their email, like you just saw me being kicked there. And it says it sent the message, so on and so forth. So that, of course, will trigger the whole response the way we talked about. And it'll then get the email here, except in my case it won't, because I automatically have emails forwarded to my main account. So you will see it here, right there. And so here's the email request, and then it'll forward the email here. It will come here. So here's, I see a message from Zara. She sent email message to, yeah, the right email address. And so hopefully by now Zara should have the email back with appropriate information, that same canned message. And as you can see, what I was saying earlier, that whatever Zara puts in the subject line or down here is not really relevant. I get everything she sends. So if people want to actually put some stuff in there, it will still work great. So I'm still going to get it. I still have this information. But notice over here, just to point out, I do have her email address now, okay, because that came as part of the request. And then also I can see that she's on Google+, and I can easily add her to a circle. Okay, so I simply click here, and she's already part of my following circle, so nothing to add. But It's basically she's if it's coming from a person whom you don't know, then you can easily add them from here. And that's it. At this point, you can do whatever you want to do with these emails. If you want to archive them, if you want to delete them, whatever you want to do after that. Bottom line is people got their information, you got their contact information stored on your end, and you're able to easily contact them, and that's it. And we didn't use any, Zara didn't have to fill out any online form, any squeeze page, nothing. She just went to my website, she clicked on a link that had that mail to command, and boom. And she's got in a few seconds after that, she actually got an email with the information about SpecZone. So that's how you do email on demand using Gmail. And we covered the deal with the plus at the top. And hopefully you understand how to do multiple accounts and have multiple Gmail, Google accounts open at the same time on desktop browsers in Chrome. And with that, I think that's all I wanted to talk about today. So I thank you for listening. My big apologies for having the break with the mouse dying on me. And until next time, take care. Oh yeah, one more thing before I go. Almost forgot. Let me get rid of this, and then we'll go back into the deal. So SpecZone. Let's talk about SpecZone for a minute. So this is just a small example of what we talked about today. Obviously, it took a lot longer today to get this set up and explain it. And my blog will have all the steps and everything about how to do this. But this is an example of the kind of content and the kind of information that you, if you have a small business, can definitely use to make your whole company run more efficiently, to be able to handle some of these sales and marketing things without scratching your head and saying, okay, we need to set up, you call somebody and your friend of yours says, well, you need to set up a squeeze page so people can, so you can keep track and build an email list of people who want your information. Okay, or somehow you need to do you have 15 different products, you want to do product sheets, and you want to be able to distribute them easily. Okay, well, how do you distribute them easily online from your website? Well, you can create a PDF file, you can put them online that way, people can download them. I mean, that's one thing you can do. But if you wanted to send them an email and you wanted to capture the information, you can't just set up a PDF because nobody is going to have the information. So you have to have the squeeze page type approach. So how do you do it? And also, your accountant just walked in and they want you to do ABC, and phone is ringing off the hook, and on and on and on and on. And so this is an example of how many businesses run, and sitting and learning everything online, going to Google Plus, going to Facebook, whatever. Nobody has the time. If you really seriously look at it on a continuous basis, it's very difficult for businesses, especially small business owners, to be able to find the time to deal with all this learning and look at all these posts about 5 best ways to do this and 7 best ways to do that. What you're trying to do is get tools to be able to run your business in a much more efficient and effective way. That's all you're really looking for. You're not looking to become a computer whiz. You're not looking to somehow spend all this time you don't have to deal with all this. But at the same time, you need to be more efficient to be able to be more effective. You need to be able to find time, make time, as I call it, because there's only 24 hours in a day. And there's no way, there's nothing you can do to expand that 24 hours, yet work piles up and piles up and piles up, and you got to be running your business. That's why you're in business. So that's what I'm saying. That's where SpecZone was developed, to bring you these kind of levels, not levels, but these kind of services, anything that's IT related, web related, things like that, and be able to give you some solutions to help you run your business in a much more effective and a much more efficient manner, much more cost-effective manner as well. That's the whole idea behind SpecZone. And so we would get together the way, for those who haven't looked at the information yet, and by the way, I do have a collection set up on Google Plus that has a few videos explaining all this stuff. But the basic concept is very simple. Every week, if you're a member, and just FYI, there's only going to be basically 34 members. There's going to be 24 standard plan members and 10 exclusive plan members. And that's so I can handle everybody. That's why, not because I'm trying to do anything super fancy here, but it's just I want to make sure that everybody's taken care of. And so the idea is that if you become a member on a weekly basis, you need to dedicate 30 minutes. And believe me, after we start doing this, I'm going to find you much more than 30 minutes every week that you're going to save in things and ideas and solutions that you actually implement to make these things happen. So you take 30 minutes every week, you sit in this hangout similar to how I'm sitting right now. If you use a standard approach, then that's going to have 8 other people in it. So all the people are going to talk about their needs. You're not trying to collaborate in terms of helping them in any way, unless you want to. What you're doing is you're basically bringing your challenges, your issues, you're bringing your desires to the table, and we just talk about all the different things that are going on that need to be addressed. Just like you would have an IT meeting with, if you had your own IT department, same kind of deal. So that's 30 minutes every week. That's all you need to dedicate, just 30 minutes every week. And we do these meetings, like clockwork. Then in addition to that, you're going to have up to 20-minute, 2 sessions a week, up to 20 minutes each. And in those sessions, we just do one-on-one. So we sit in a hangout like this, you on one end, I'm on this end, and we discuss whatever you want to discuss. I bring up some possibilities, solutions, specifics. Basically, again, you're talking to your IT department head, if you will. And in terms of who I am, I'm somebody who's been in the business for 34 years now, going on 35. And so I definitely have some experience in not only knowing what to do IT-wise, but also managing IT departments. And right now, I happen to be doing work as an IT director for a resort company in Idaho. And so I've done many different things IT related, like I said, 34 years of experience. So the idea is to bring all of this to work for you on your behalf. That's the whole concept. So then you have these 2 up to 20-minute sessions throughout the week whenever you find the time to do it. So we discuss it more in a one-on-one. So you do the 30-minute with a bunch of people in there, not a bunch, but up to 8 people in there. And then you do the one-on-one in these 2 20-minute sessions every week. And so we're basically identifying things that you need, identifying things that you do, because there's some things you can bring up when it comes to getting things done. You can certainly bring up some of your desires and needs, and some things you think would be doable, or at least you're trying to find out if they're doable, things like that. On the other hand, there's many things, and I'm being totally honest based on experience, there's many things that you do right now you don't even have an idea that you could solve them either completely by automating them through technology, or at least using technology to help you get them done, or at least make them easier to handle, less manual labor, part of them being automated. So there's all these different variations of how I can, listening and looking and talking to you about what it is that you do for business, I can actually bring a bunch of ideas to the table in terms of what could be done to make it better, to make it easier, and then we discuss it, we collaborate, we brainstorm, and then we make it happen. So some of these things, in terms of making it happen, in terms of specific solutions, there's tremendous amount of programs and applications out there. A lot of them are free. It doesn't even necessarily have to cost anything, which will enable you to use them almost immediately. And there's a bunch of these SaaS, software as service possibilities. There's tremendous amount of apps. There's a lot of mobile applications that are available. So again, you don't have time to learn all this stuff, but I can bring all this stuff, all this knowledge to you in a very short amount of time, and then you can immediately start benefiting from it. So in addition to doing those kind of sessions, the 30-minute and then 20 minutes 2 times, where we discuss this and we kick things around and we come up with solutions, and then we work on implementing them. In addition to that, you can also grab me at any point in time on chat using Google Hangouts, the chat portion, and you simply ask a quick question, you get a quick answer, and we're done as many times as you need to. So the idea is that being part of Spec Zone is you're actually having your own IT department, like I write everywhere. That's exactly what it is. You're able to grab me at any time you wish, reasonably speaking. And then you're able to either quickly get some quick question answer, or we set it up as part of our 20-minute sessions a couple of times a week, or as part of the 30-minute session with, like we discussed. Now, the whole thing like this membership like that costs $200 a month. That's all it's going to cost. Which, of course, if you look at how much people charge for IT when you hire people, it's basically a no-brainer. Let's put it this way. I don't want to put myself on the pedestal, but the $200 a month compared to what you would normally pay for IT is really not even a consideration, and something that practically everybody in the smallest businesses should be able to afford. Then for those of you who are interested but say it sounds good, but what is this business with these 8 people in a hangout? That's something that we had to do to make it work in this environment. And so if you want to do one-on-one, then there's a exclusive plan, which is a higher level plan, and that gives you nothing but one-on-one. There's not going to be any more people, it's just you. So that's also going to have a 30-minute a week meeting, which is just one-on-one. And then in addition to that, you don't have 2 meetings up to 20 minutes each, you have 3 meetings up to 20 minutes each. All of this is nothing but one-on-one with me. And then of course any of those little Q&A deals at any point in time using chats. So that's the second plan. If you want to do it that way, you can do it that way. The first plan has 24 seats open. The second plan has 10 seats open, and that's it. Once it fills up, that's going to be the end of it. In terms of commitment, if you sign up for something like this, the commitment level is non-existent. You can cancel anytime you wish, at any time. No questions asked, nothing. If you do cancel, the only caution I would have is if you like it and then you cancel for any reason, and then you want to step back into it, let's say a few months later, for whatever reason, as long as we have seats open, not a problem. If we don't, if it's completely full, you won't be able to jump back in. I mean, I apologize ahead of time, but that's the way it's set up. That's how it works. So the idea being that while we're starting this up right now, there's X number of seats open. You can certainly participate either in the $200 a month plan or the $500 a month plan. But once these seats all fill up, and there's, like I said, only 10 of the exclusives and 24 in the standard, then that'll be it. Because I want to make sure that everybody is handled to the maximum efficiency and benefit to them. And so in terms of what's going to be in the spec zone, there's going to be obviously a lot of consulting, a lot of discussions, collaboration, brainstorming, things like that. In addition to that, there's also going to be a training, and that will be specifically for you or your employees or both, dealing with whatever things you're looking for, you really need done. For example, let's say you come back and says, Oleg, we're doing a tremendous amount of emailing, unbelievable amount of emailing all the time between our salespeople, between our staff, and it's completely out of hand. Nobody can find anything. It's crazy. Okay. And then, so we can then take a look and see how emails are done. What exactly are people emailing? Why they're emailing? Because there's a lot of people are emailing things for all the wrong reasons and completely the wrong way. And so if you do a lot of emailing, I'm not going to tell you stop emailing or anything like that, because if you like emailing and you want to do emailing, that's fine. But I can definitely make sure that it's done in the most efficient way. And that would be doing some training with you or your employees, or both, for example. And that's what those 30-minute sessions are, because a lot of people can benefit from the same information. Or if it's exclusive membership, then there's not going to be anybody but your employees and you. And then we go specifically into the areas. We're not going to be doing training on email where we go from step A to step Z in all the features and everything you can do. That's major amount of time, and also winds up being wasteful, because if you're only using 70% of features, you don't need to know 100% of functionality of those features at all. Same goes not just for email, but for any program. The idea is to train you and train your people into specifically things that you need to be able to do to be able to run your business better. That's it, nothing more, because time is very precious and everybody only has a limited amount of time. So the idea is that this would be an environment where you're going to have training, but very specific and very focused training on just the things that you and your business need, not on training in general that will be used for everybody. So I want to make sure that's clear. In terms of development, there's many things that could be done development-wise also that can be done very quickly. And so if I can say I can get something done very quickly, and we would have to look on it on a project-by-project, task-by-task basis to see if it would be doable or not. It's all going to be part of the deal. If it's something that's more extensive where you need a serious system developed, then we'll talk about that and see what's involved, see if PCS can deliver that for you as a separate measure, separate project, or as a minimum, we can act as basically liaison between you and whoever you decide to hire to get this done for you, to make sure that you do not overpay for it, to make sure that the design of the system is correct and makes sense from the IT standpoint. So in other words, we would become your IT department, and I would personally oversee all of this stuff. When I say we, it's basically me, because there is nobody else that has 34-year experience, at least close to me, so I'll have to do all of that. And so the idea is that I would take a look at, if you decide to hire somebody to do the project, even if we didn't discuss it before, you still decided to do it, as a member of Spec Zone, it'll entitle you to have me look into it, discuss it with them to make sure, because a lot of times what happens with people is that anybody who knows something more than they do immediately makes them think that they don't know anything and this other person knows everything. That's just not the case. So you may be somewhat computer or internet savvy, or IT savvy, I should say, but at the same time, you're no whiz. And so if some guy from the street comes in and starts throwing you a bunch of things about megapixels and about megabytes this and terabytes that, and you need to have wireless network with running at 5 gigahertz frequency, and on and on and on, and probably using AC would be better than what you have now, and you're like, what the heck is AC, and what does frequency have to do with anything, and on and on and on. You end up being kind of overwhelmed, and at the same time you need to make a decision as the decision maker. Do you do this project or not with these people? And they sound like, they're throwing all these big words around, and they seem to be confident, and they have some people that they brought in supposedly that they've done this stuff with, so it seems like a good deal. But the end result may be a completely different story. Okay, one of the stories I just told recently is that I had one client whose manager decided to do a website redo on their own, and they wound up actually spending, before they talked to me about it, close to 100 times what they should have spent. And I don't mean that 100%, I mean 100 times what they should have spent on that website. Okay, so it's one of these things that BCS and being a member of Spec Zone will help you make sure that that doesn't happen to your business. So that's part of the deal of being a member here, is to make sure you do not get taken advantage of by when you get your stuff done. And if you need to hire somebody else, we can also vet them and things like that. So we would definitely be involved on some level, if you want us to be involved, obviously, to make sure that we're acting on your behalf as your IT department. That's the whole concept here. So that's that part. That's in terms of development part. And of course, support, an ongoing situation where employees ask you a question, and fine, you send them directly to here as part of the Spec Zone. You're a member. It means all of your employees are automatically eligible to be part of it. So next 20-minute session, they need some kind of training or explanation, then that's how it happens. It happens to be with them. It happens to be in what they need. So it'd be really kind of a useful and convenient environment. We're very mindful of the time for you, not for us, for you, because a lot of these solutions that we need to come up with will be coming up not in these hangouts we have with you, but completely off when we're on our own time. And so when we get together with you, that's not the time to start thinking about it. That's the time to actually give you the solutions to minimize the amount of time you spend and maximize the benefit. So your time is important. That's why we broke it down like this, where you have the once a week, you have the 30-minute, and you have 2 or 3 20-minute sessions. So you're really spending maybe close to an hour, maybe an hour a week. That's it. But we're going to do our best, obviously, to make sure that you save more time than you actually spend on these things, much more time actually, and money, and make you that much better in terms of running your business. So that's kind of the Spec Zone concept, in terms of development, in terms of support, in terms of consulting, and for either $200 a month or $500 a month, depending on your preference and your desire of how you want to run this thing. With that said, I'm going to finish up here. You can find more information about the Spec Zone by going to my to PCS's Google Plus page. You can go to the collection of Spec Zone right there, and there's some more details about that. And feel free to contact me at any time on Google Plus if you have any questions. I hope this has been helpful, and until next time, thank you.